Yes, lots of time. That's good. He's our banjo player. He just called me 15 minutes ago and said, when are we playing? What day? I said, it's at 15. That's no panic at all. We're very easy going.
We'll get started in a moment, folks, if you don't mind taking your seats. Well, I didn't have to stop talking that.
Attentive bunch.
Yeah, that's right. Are we good to get started? Everyone's here. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Brian Harding. I'm the CEO and Chief Librarian of the Greater Sudbury Public Library. What a great turnout. Wonderful to see so many smiling faces out here for this great event. I'm going to start things with a land acknowledgement. As a visitor on this land, I have an important responsibility to acknowledge the grounds on which we are privileged to gather for today's event. We are gathered on the lands of the Anishinaabeg peoples and within the territory of the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850. This is the traditional territory of the Atikameksheng Anishinaabe, the Wahnapitae First Nation, and the Sagamok First Nation. Over 150 years ago, Canada signed an agreement with these and other First Nations, an agreement which has been known as the Robinson-Huron Treaty. This agreement was intended to be the foundation upon which sovereign peoples would build a common relationship, but in fact has led to long-standing disputes about compensation, settlement, and harvesting rights. We also recognize the contributions that the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous people have made in shaping and strengthening this land and our community. In light of this history and understanding our role as treaty people, may we dedicate ourselves to moving forward in the spirit of partnership, collaboration, reconciliation, as we continue to live, learn, and work together. And as an additional note, I just want to say that as we meet today to celebrate this important milestone in the history of the Sudbury District branch of the Ontario Genealogical Society, let us also reflect on how we may support truth and reconciliation and honor the Indigenous history of this land through the work that we do to preserve cultural memory. Thank you very much. I'm passing it back over to myself to say some introductory remarks. I'm first on the agenda. So again, thank you all for being here, and thank you for the opportunity to address you today. We're honored to be hosting this event here at the main library. This represents a partnership that has been long-standing between the library and the OGS. And I was just having a conversation. It's hard for me to wrap my head around the new terminology, the Ontario ancestors. You'll always be the you'll always be the OGS to me. As a former reference librarian, I just became so used to saying OGS, OGS, OGS all the time. So when I say OGS, I'm referring to you, our OGS. One point of connection that we've had over that shared history was Mary Shantz. You may or may not know that the library's local history collection is named after Mary, and Mary was a founding member of the Sudbury branch of the OGS. That collection continues to be named after Mary today. Another point of connection, the library's been hosting what is likely the OGS's most valued possessions, your collection of books and resources here at the main library. We're thankful that you have entrusted us to be the stewards of these resources over the years, preserving them while also facilitating access to the valuable knowledge that these resources contain. I'd like to acknowledge Kristen Bertrand, who is our local history librarian. Kristen's in the back, probably doesn't want me to point her out. In addition to helping plan today's event, Kristen is the library's primary connection to the OGS, and she provides support to the work that you do. Kristen has the closest thing to an encyclopedic knowledge of Greater Sudbury's history that I've ever seen, and she has a passion for preserving our community's history. I did not have an opportunity to meet Mary Shantz, but I just want to say that I can think of no better person to continue her legacy and to continue supporting the work that the OGS does than Kristen. Kristen, thank you for your efforts today and for making the OGS's partnership a long-standing success. I also want to acknowledge you, the members of the OGS, for all that you do for our community, your long contributions to also upholding our community's memory. I'll say a bit more about how important I think that is in a moment. But I want to focus my remarks on issuing a challenge. I want to use this as an opportunity to challenge you. The work that you do through the OGS and the work that many of you do to preserve history and cultural memory is critically important to the vitality of our community. We live in a rapidly changing world, and it's a world which I think is so focused on the present and on the future that at best we risk ignoring our past, and I think at worst we risk erasing it and losing it. We're also seeing that there's a generational shift in those who have played a critical role in preserving our history, such as those genealogists who have volunteered their time, in some cases over the decades, to share their knowledge. And I'm aware that it's becoming more and more challenging to recruit younger members into doing this type of work, and that's a concerning risk as well. So as we gather here today to celebrate the 45th anniversary of the Sudbury District branch of the OGS, I want to challenge you, all of you, to keep doing the work that you have done over the last 45 years. And I want to challenge us all to meet here again in 5 years for a 50th anniversary. I think we need to keep this momentum going and continue doing this good work. I think it's critical that by doing that, we continue to keep this community alive and to keep our community active and healthy. As a partner, the Greater Sudbury Public Library is going to be here to support your work over those next 5 years and beyond. We'll also be happy to host you again, although we may not do it here. As you may or may not know, we're looking for a new home, and we may have found that new home by the time it's time for us to meet again. To the members of the OGS, congratulations on your anniversary and this important milestone. We value our partnership with you, and we look forward to many anniversaries to come. And just want to say to everyone, please enjoy the exciting content that's been planned this afternoon by the event organizers, and thanks again for coming. I am going to introduce Margie, Paul, and the Sudbury History Singers to come up and sing for us.
Thank you. A few minutes for the second song. This first song is called the Sudbury Song, and it was written originally in the late 1960s here in Sudbury by a lady by the name of Betty Silva, and she still sings in our choir with us today, a larger choir that we have, the Sudbury Singers. But at that time in the 60s, we sang under Chrissy Nemus and the Marian Singers. And this song is to the tune of Toot Toot Tootsie. And it's just a little ditty, but we sang it everywhere we went. So if we went, twice we were flown to Ottawa to sing for Parliament in the Rotunda, when Jim Jerome was our Speaker of the House here. And it was amazing. As teenagers, we just sang our hearts out, and we're going to sing this for you now. Can you give us a G, Paul? We want to tell you about Sudbury, the home of northern hospitality. Our nickel mines are famous, our miners too, we love them and no one can blame us. Hard rock mines you can view, smelters, refineries too. When you see those fiery rivers running down the slag heaps and the most gigantic smokestacks in the world, you'll agree this is a mining town with a flair, unequaled anywhere. Though mining is our big game, it's not our only claim to fame. And we just got to mention our university, we're mighty proud of our Laurentian. Oh, we've got plenty of rocks, and they take plenty of knocks. But a 40-foot big nickel tower's high on a hill and reminds us of the riches lying in those rocks still. They're loaded, you can't believe what we say. Sudbury is okay. Ontario Genealogical Heritage. In doing so, we transcribe and collect and preserve information, books, photos, cemeteries, information, and local history data related to genealogical research. In the beginning, we all learned together, and the local members spoke about how to trace their family tree, and questions and answer sessions helped members as our group grew. At one point, the OGS divided us into regions because there were 33 branches eventually with OGS. And we were paired with Nipissing branches as Region 9. And over the years, North Bay and Sudbury took turns hosting seminars every second year, and we would support each other that way, and we would bring in informative speakers from away. People like, you may remember, the oldie goldies here, Brian Gilchrist and Ryan Taylor and others. And North Bay and Sudbury still support each other today, and some of the Nipissing members are here today to support us. And I'd like to tell you about a few of the major projects that we undertook over the years. A lot of them probably even some of our newer members won't realize we were involved in, and they may surprise you. First of all, cemetery transcribing. Cemetery transcribing has always been one of our major projects, back starting in 1979. So today, our hardworking cemetery committee has transcribed and published most of the cemeteries spread over a huge geographic area for our district. 3,228 square kilometers we cover. We have published transcriptions for 66 cemeteries and are now in the process of updating many of the earlier publications. Some are small, but many are huge, like LaSalle Cemetery, Park Lawn, and Civic. I want to give you a little bit of an idea of how much work is entailed in transcribing a cemetery. So what happens is our volunteers go out into a cemetery, we put a line of cemetery stones, and we put one person at one end and another at the other with a clipboard, and then they work their way to each other's end so that we have two copies of what they see on that cemetery stone, and they're writing it down on their clipboards. Then, this happens across the whole cemetery over many months and years sometimes, and then a third person looks at those two and makes sure that they are exactly the same, and if they're not, they go back to the cemetery and they reread, because some of the stones are so hard to decipher. And then once we've decided on what's correct, then they go to the typist, and then they're printed, and then they're indexed and archived. And those go out to, and there's maps and a history involved as well with that. And then those are sent out to the library here, also to the cemetery board in Sudbury, and the Ontario Archives receives them as well. So Sudbury's centennial year in 1883 provided the backdrop for many cultures, many heritages. Our branch was only 4 years old when we hosted the OGS seminar. We were crazy to do that, but we hosted it at Laurentian University with a mere 13 people running the show. And we attracted 260 attendees to come to the conference that year. It was quite an accomplishment for a new branch. Early on, we were approached by the local Church of Latter-day Saints here in Sudbury. They asked us to assist them in a bid to acquire a family history library for their Sudbury church. Now, this is sort of the mecca of genealogy back in the day. They had so much information that we were anxious to be able to use and share. So we started a letter writing regime, and we began that at once, and when we accomplished that goal and they were allowed to have the library, part of our promise to them was that we'd help them set up the library, learn how to use it, and we would also teach their members how to use the library so that they could take it over. And until then, we manned the library for them as well. So they still run that library, and it's a wonderful thing to have in our community. Early on, we were approached by the local, I did that one already, members. In 2007, we provided seed money to a committee to search out a suitable home for Sudbury District Archives. This was accomplished, and the archives was established in Falconbridge and opened in 2012. We joined other branches to collect signatures requesting Canada Post to print a stamp commemorating the contribution of British home children that were made to our country by them. A piece of history that most Canadians
know nothing about, and I'd love to tell you all about it. 100,000 children were sent from Britain, from the streets of Britain, from mid-1800s into about the mid-1930s. And they were put on farms to work, a little bit like what you remember about Anne of Green Gables. 100,000 children came here. So you can imagine the ancestry that they produced here, so you may have a home child in your ancestry. I was thrilled to attend when they unveiled that stamp in Ottawa in 1910. 2010, sorry. Yeah. I like the older dates. You don't look that old, I know. Committees were set up, and we were collecting and transcribing genealogical data such as the indexing of the Jackson and Barnard funeral home records, and they ran from 1913 to 1949. We have those indexed. The cooperative funeral home records, 11,559 records were published by the decades running from 1950 through to 1990. Digitally searchable, and while they were searching those records and transcribing them, they came across a very exciting find, which was the lost LeClaire funeral home records, which no one knew existed anymore. And they ran from 1914 to 1944. The Mond Hire records, they ran from 1883 to 1925, and Mond was the mining company that was here prior to Inco. And these thousands of records were photographed by our volunteers, and they provide the names, the ages, the country of origin, the pay records, and often a contact person in the old country for that person. A wonderful piece of Sudbury history and a godsend really to researchers, and those names can be found on our website. And more research can be done once that name is found. Sudbury Record of Marriage Licenses, a book containing 1,143 marriage records from the original register. They were the licenses that people applied. They might not have gotten married, but they got a license. Those ran from 1921 to 1929, so those are indexed as well. In 1901, census records were printed by a member of our branch in whole for the whole Sudbury district. They're huge. You can open them up and look at them just like as if you were reading the original 1901 census, and we have them downstairs here in our collection. We participated in a group called Applerod, which was formed by the OGS members to assist in the return of land record books that had been removed from the city. Many of our books were returned to the safety of the Sudbury Archives because of this group. So many useful projects have been undertaken. The list is very lengthy and can be found on our website. Many of these documents that we have worked on are unique to us and can be found nowhere else. They're not on Ancestry, they're not on your computer, they're on our website or in our branch members only section, some of them. But what we're most proud of is the number of people that we've introduced and assisted in their family history searches. Genealogy before computers and the internet? Well, we've come a long way since 1979 when research was carried out by letter writing and phone calls, searching out records in person at churches and archives and libraries, tracking down and tramping through cemeteries, hoping to find that elusive stone, and phone calls to relatives, and cold calls to possible contacts. And nowadays people don't want to tell you any of their information, but back in the day they would, if you had the information and could approach them, they'd speak with you. Pedigree charts and family group sheets were held in 3-ring binders. Source citations mostly consisted of my Aunt Alice told me, or it was a family Bible, you know. Nowadays, of course, we have the use of computers, and we have the ability to access documents and connect with possible relatives through online sites while sitting at home at home or at your library, and saving family trees onto genealogical software. No longer, well, some of us still using those 3-ring binders. But now we can connect with speakers from around the world via Zoom, and we search our branch website finding documents that are unavailable elsewhere. What will genealogy look like in the future now that AI has become part of the equation? Online sites entice those interested in family research to think it's easy to put together your family tree in a matter of days. If you just sign up, these sites will contain wonderful information, they certainly do. But my big worry is that without a grounding in proper research techniques, people often just grab that information that they see on those websites and they presume that it's their family. And they don't try to prove or disprove these facts that sit so tantalizingly at their fingertips. So they well may be printing out a family tree that has nothing to do with them at all because someone else has perpetuated an error there and you're continuing it on. Then we have DNA, which has connected so many people with their distant relatives and have helped crack a lot of brick walls. And Barb can tell you all about that. It has also uncovered family secrets that, if not treated with respect, can be detrimental to living family members. The future carries a lot of responsibility as well as easier access to family documents and information. Many people and institutions have assisted in the success of our branch, and we thank the Genealogical Society, now called Ontario Ancestors, and their staff for their help in fighting to save and document historical and genealogical information for future research. Our branch mentors and volunteers, particularly Steve Fulton for his assistance with all things IT out of Toronto, Kim Barnsdale, who helped us through the pandemic by patiently teaching us how to connect with our members in the outside world using Zoom, and Kirsty Gray, who from across the pond in England was the first to drag us screaming really into the 21st century by showing us how she could instruct us and our members halfway across the world. It's amazing. Thanks to the Sudbury District Archives, whose work is essential to researchers, and the Greater City of Sudbury Public Library for partnering with us years ago and providing ongoing support all these years. Housing our branch collection, providing space and drop-in sessions to assist our members and the general public on how to proceed with their research, speaking at our branch meetings and educating and instructing us on how to use the materials that are available to us through the library and the archives, and Mary Shantz, who at the start of our journey supported and guided us with her love for local history. Thanks to Nancy Vinecourt, our program chair, who works alongside Kristen Bertra and Nadia Vellucci to coordinate this event today. And lastly, a huge thank you to our members, of course, our wonderful volunteers who over the years have provided the manpower to make these research avenues available. And some of them are here today. And be sure to put your name. This I want to tell you, everyone for sure, when you're downstairs where the Zoom meeting will take place below, and there's another information table down there, please make sure that you put your name on one of the tickets, because many of our draws are being provided by our supporters today, such as Ontario Ancestry, some wonderful stuff available to you. You might get a free year from some of these people. Ontario Ancestry, Family Tree DNA, Find My Past, Legacy Software, Mekiev Software, My Heritage, the Greater City of Sudbury, and there are 3 framed prints of historical Sudbury photos provided by the Ontario Archives. So we're going to have a wonderful day today promoting genealogy. I hope that you will enjoy the day, and we look forward to you sharing your family stories with us when you research them and find out all the wonderful things there are to find out. So thank you very much for attending, and I'm going to call up our wonderful singers, Margie and the Sudbury Hit Singers, and Paul.
So this song is called When the Stack Comes Down, and it was written by David and I, and they ended up recording it on a record called Songs of the Northern Train, and everything on that record has got some historical little bit to it, and that's his thing. He really enjoyed writing those kinds of songs. So it's called When the Stack Comes Down, and it's on the album Northern Train. Is there anything else I need to say about that?
That it's available on
All right.
Bandcamp and
Thank you,
Apple
thank you.
Music and
That's right.
I listen
Spotify.
to it all the time.
And the other honor is that Margie and her buddies invited me to do this tune with them at this meeting. So when somebody's interested in your song, that's a huge thing, because you go to a lot of trouble to write it and recorded and everything, and all of a sudden you have people asking for it, and even to perform it in public. So thank you very much. I don't know what this came out of. Was it a party that this came out of?
Lynn just asked for music, and music, she gets Sudbury music.
All right?
London's got a great big clock, but I say whoop-de-doo. We built the biggest chimney the world has ever seen. Before the sackcloth rocks turned black, now we're going green. I want to be there. Sing along if you I want to be there. I want to be there when the stack comes down. I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there when it hits the ground. When that meteorite hits Sudbury, hush, I hold it down. Molten rock won't skyward turn to money in the ground. But the nickel came with sulfur and it killed off all the trees. So I built the super stack and blew the problem east. I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there when the stack comes down. I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there when it hits the ground. We've got 50 years of progress. We scrubbed the problem clean. 10 million trees were planted and the stack's now obsolete. Some say that we should keep it as a symbol of our town. But we still got the big nickels, so let's bring the big boy down. I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there when the stack comes down. I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there when it hits the ground. I want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be there when the stack comes down. And I give OIT for a front row seat to the biggest show in town. I want to be there when the stack comes down.
Oh, thank you very much. That was amazing. That was great. Thank you. We're finished with our introduction and our welcome to you folks today. And I'd like anyone who's interested in going downstairs to the room at the bottom of the stairs to listen to the first Zoom. It's My Heritage with a Canada focus and new and unique family history features. So if you're interested, head down there, and otherwise we can talk to you at the tables here and at the information table downstairs. So we'll see you down there.